Hello, welcome. My name is Tracy. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator here in Central Victoria, Australia. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today we're going to make this card, and this is my second last project for Halloween for this month. So I hope you've enjoyed the whole series. The supplies needed for this card are the Harvest Hellos stamp set, and I've used the pumpkin and the jack-o'-lantern face in this set. Birds of a feather. I've used the Sentiment Trick or Treat and that gorgeous little duck. I have the stitched shape framelit dies, and I'm using these circles. And we have the smallest circle and the second largest circle. We have some Whisper White baker's twine. Inks are Mango Melody and the Versamark ink. Now we are heat embossing this duck, so I have the Versamark ink, the white embossing powder and the heat tool. And we're also doing some sponging with this background here, and I'm using the Sponge Brayer for that technique. I have my kit here all ready to go. Now all the measurements and supplies can be found over my blog. There is a link to that blog post in the description of this video. There's also a link to my online store if you would like to purchase any of the Stampin' Up! Supplies that I've used here, or if you're in need of any other supplies, you can do so. Use the hostess code for the month and I'll send you out a handmade card, but you could earn yourself some Inky rewards, and you can check out all the details of that over my blog. And for each month, for this month, any order that's placed through my online store using the hostess code will also receive a bundle set of tutorials, so it's a really great deal. Okay, so we have Mango Melody card base, and all I'm going to do is fold that in half and burnish it. It is half a piece of A4 that's cut in half and then scored in half. We have some basic black matting, some Whisper White cardstock, and then we have our two pieces. This is Whisper White for the sentiment and a piece of basic black for our duck. We're going to start off with the heat embossing, so I'm going to bring in that pumpkin stamp and the Versamark ink, and I'm going to stamp all around the Whisper White piece with the pumpkin. I also want to stamp just on a scrap piece of paper, just so I don't get my grid paper all inky. So let's ink up this pumpkin, and what I want to do is I want to start in the middle, and I just want to ink that pumpkin all the way around. So doing a bit of a pattern there. This stamp was still a little bit dirty, I think. Has a bit of pumpkin pie on it. That's okay. Okay. I'm going to bring in the Whisper White ink embossing powder first, and then we'll come back and do the sentiment. So before I heat set that, let's do the sentiment as well. So bringing in the basic black and that duck. Let's ink him up just in the middle. And there's nothing better than white embossing on black cardstock. Just looks really, really, really beautiful. There we go. So we're going to use the heat tool to set that powder. What it'll do is melt that powder and make it all glossy. I'm going to pop this to the side just to let that cool slightly. I'm going to bring the big shot in and let's cut out these images here. So we're cutting out our duck on the basic black with that larger circle. It's the second largest circle. The piece of Whisper White and the smallest circle. Gives us our little duck and our sentiment circle. We can stamp all that now. So for our sentiment, we're going to stamp the jack-o'-lantern's face with Mango Melody, but we want to stamp that off. So let's ink that up and stamp off on a bit of paper and stamp that over the top. So cute. Now, I don't think I said before that we needed Memento Tuxedo black ink, so we do. Here it is here. I'm just going to ink up the sentiment Trick or Treat. I'm going to stamp that over the top, just like that. So those are those two images ready to go. Let's bring in our one that we heat embossed the pumpkins on. And we're going to bring the Sponge Brayer in and just colour in that white cardstock. So I have my Mango Melody ink again, Sponge Brayer ready to go. Now to ink up the Sponge Brayer, what you need to do is lifting up and rolling along. You're just going to add that ink to the sponge. Okay, just like you do on a paintbrush. So let's roll this along. If you don't have the Sponge Brayer, you could use sponges or the sponge daubers. They work as well. And I like that I've used the Mango Melody instead of the pumpkin pie. I've used a lot of pumpkin pie on my projects for the whole of the month. So it's nice to use something a little bit different. And you can have it as dark or as light as you want. I don't want it super dark, but I don't want it really light either. I'm really happy with that. It's not as dark as my other card, but I think, let me have a look. Maybe it needs to be just a little bit lighter. Let's bring in a little bit more colour. I'm happy with that one. I love how uneven the colouring is in the sponge brayering. We have a little bit more darker down here and a little bit more here. I just think that that looks really good. So let's start popping that card together. I'm going to adhere these two layers together, and I'm just going to use some Tombow Mono Multi Glue. I'm also going to bring in some Whisper White Baker's Twine. I'm going to wrap some Baker's Twine around this element. want to tie a bow on the right hand side. So let's wrap it around 3 times. There we go. Just want to tie a little bow just here on the right hand side. I've played around with my bow a little bit just to get it where I'm happy with. This is going to be glued straight down onto our card base as well. This could certainly be popped up if you would like to pop that one up. And it's just going over to the left hand side of the card. Now the sentiment is going to be glued to our basic black piece, so I'm just going to pop a little bit of Tombow glue on the right hand side of that sentiment. Well, it's the right hand side when you turn it over to the left hand side, looking at it from the front. I'm going to stick a couple of dimensionals on both the sentiment and just on that very edge of the basic black, so it fits in nicely. You might hear my son's puppy barking in the background. I think he is sweeping his floor in his bedroom and she does not like the big broom. She barks at it and tries to bite at it, so that's what they'll be doing in there. Now on the other part of the basic black piece, we're just going to pop some mono glue down. There we go. And that's the second last project for Halloween this month. I hope you're enjoying the series. I'll be back on Thursday with another project. I hope you can join me then. Until then, have a wonderful day and I'll see you all very soon. Bye bye.